Hi there, tonight's video is the second one in a series about whether you want to be a truck owner, operator, or whether you've got what it takes. Okay, hope you like the video. Hi there, this is Tommy. This is part two of my little series of videos on getting your own truck and putting yourself to work in your own business. The first video I did was a kind of overview of a bunch of stuff, and this is taken into more specific categories. First category is really, do you have what it takes? And I don't mean that as in I'm super trucker here and I can do anything. I mean, are you going to be comfortable doing this? Because if you're not, it's not a good idea to do it. A couple of things you can figure out for yourself are, because you don't want to go in here and spend a lot of money and then all of a sudden you discover, I don't like this, it's not for me. So there are a couple of things that you need to establish. Firstly, can you work on your own? Now, I don't mean, you're going to cross Nebraska right now and you've got a load and it's paying $4 a mile and you unload in Topeka, Kansas, and it only took you 45 minutes to get loaded, and you know it's only going to take you an hour at the other end, and there's a reload waiting 10 miles down the road, and you'll drop that off and turn and burn and fly back, and you're making money hand over fist and everything's great. I mean, can you work on your own when it goes to the toilet? As in, you're going along and you feel a rumble off the front end, you get out. Have you got the ability to have a look? I believe that before you buy your own truck, you should have some basic mechanical ability. If you're just a driver, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody who's driving for a fleet, but if you've come out of a different environment and you've been taught by one of the mega fleets and you buy your own truck, you've got an uphill battle when it comes to mechanics if you don't have that basic coming into learning how to drive. If you've been a librarian and you have got no clue about trucking and you want to buy your own truck, don't do that. If you've got no clue about mechanics, so you're driving along, you feel this rumble off the front end, or the buzzers go off and your temperature gauges come up. Do you know where to check? Because you don't have anybody to call. You can't phone a friend. You might have a friend that you can call, but chances are you have to diagnose that first issue there. So can you work on your own? Do you have mechanical ability? Two real key points there. If there's a big thing that goes wrong, have you got the mental and emotional capacity to deal with solving that problem? Quick thing, I was driving through Arizona with my friend George, down a hill, 75 miles an hour, deer runs out in front of me. It will happen to you, could happen to you. And it runs out in front of me, I hit it, the hood popped up in the yellow peat, smashed the windscreens, shattered the power steering reservoir, bent the bumper into tyre, wrecked the tyre, and it was pitch dark. So rolled into the side of the road, and I don't want to sound like a hero here, but I managed to kind of straighten the bumper out enough to get to the truck stop, which is about, could see it in the distance, about 2 or 3 miles away. Got a load strap, tied it around a concrete part, pulled it out from the post, from the bumper out from the tyre, got a new tyre at the Loves, and then hobbled with no power steering into Tucson, Peterbilt, and bought the top for the power steering reservoir and changed the headlights had blown as well, because I don't know why, but that stuff happens. When that happens, you want to be able to do that. My friend George was with me at the time and he said, I'm really impressed by the way you did that. If that was me, I'd still be back in the hard shoulder there, screaming at the sky, saying, why me? But when a problem arises, do you have an instinct to want to solve that and move on to the next thing? If you don't have that, it's not a deal breaker. None of these things are serious deal breakers, but it's going to cause you stress if you don't have those things. And the best way to get those things is to go drive for somebody else first. And then when you do have a big problem, hey, this has happened to me. What do I do? And you can get coached. Probably one of the best examples I know of that is young West that works for me. He still drives my truck. He's got 2 of his own. And he won't mind me saying this, but when he first come to work for us, he dropped some clangers, made some mistakes, and we both paid the price for them. But now he's smart, he's learned, he's intelligent, he's had that ability, and he's learned both of our expenses and is able to deal with problems that his trucks have, where his driver calls him up and says, hey, what do I do now? This has happened. And he deals with it on their behalf. So you can work up to these things. Another thing is, and this is bare bones, can you count? You know, there's a lot of people out there that think, I want to have a Pete, long-nosed Pete. I want to haul locally. I want a brand new truck. That's the only way to go because I get the warranty, and I'm going to haul locally, and I'm going to haul frac sand in Idaho Falls here, which is close to where I live, and I'm only going to work these days. You know, you have to look at the reality of things and be able to count, really, you know, how much is that truck going to cost you? How much is the payment? How much is the trailer payment? How much is your insurance? The more expensive the truck you buy, the more expensive the insurance is. So you have to be able to count and make some sort of financial plan. So, you know, a certain level of intelligence would be helpful when you get into running your own truck. Arithmetic, you know, some of the least intelligent people I've run across in my life have been extremely good at counting their money. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to be able to be good at counting and be good at figuring your math out. So you need to look at your personality. Have I got it? Do I have a supporting network around about me that if I go do this, they can help? Excuse me. Second point is, that's the first one, evaluating your personality. Can you be a trucker? You know, so part of evaluating can you be a trucker comes into this other side, this point 2, is to decide what type of trucking you want to do. So like I jokingly said there, I want to be hauling frac sand in Idaho Falls. Well, we don't have any oil here, so that's pointless. You know, you have to, I want to haul spuds from some place in the desert into Las Vegas. You know, it's just no there, they don't grow. So if you want to haul potatoes, being based in Idaho is a place to be. If you want to haul oil or oil field stuff, that's in Texas, Louisiana, New Mexico, North Dakota. There's quite a few places, but it's not everywhere. Going over the road, because it's probably in a lot of people's minds a less desirable thing to do, there's more availability to do that. So there's a couple of things that you need to look at here to decide what kind of truck you want to do, truck driving. That kind of comes into your personality, and can you relocate? So if you know there's a good opportunity in West Texas hauling sand, we're about to go down there this next couple of weeks back into Texas with some oil field trucks, and we have gone down there 4 or 5 times. And the ideal scenario for somebody being in the oil field, when you're working away from home, you want to be able to be working, and then you have time off, you go back. But sometimes in West Texas and these oil field places, it's a little bit slow. So it's ideal if you live there and that is you at home. So if it's at home, you get to have quality home time when it goes quiet, and when it's busy you can work. Whereas if you're living 1,000 miles away and you go quiet in the oil field, and that's the time you're supposed to be working. It's kind of frustrating when it's starting to pick up and that's you're supposed to go in home time. So you need to decide what kind of trucking you want to do and where you want to do it, and can you relocate to that area. There was a time up in North Dakota where that was a thing, where there was a lot of oil hauling, a lot of sand, a lot of water hauling, and that was quite a hostile environment. Is that something that you'd be prepared to go and do? So as well as deciding what kind of trucking you want to do, that'll help you decide. One of the things that will help you decide that is how much money have you got to put into this. Because if you want to go haul oil up in North Dakota, you're going to need to have a 4-axle tractor, probably a 3 or 4 axle trailer specific for crude hauling. Big bucks to get into it, not a lot of it there, so that could be something down the line. Maybe an entry level thing would be to go into hauling sand. North Dakota, not really sure a lot about it, but in West Texas and New Mexico, you don't need to buy the trailer. You can maybe buy an older truck and start. So a lot of these things are going to determine, combined with your personality, where you're going to work, the amount of money you've got to put into getting your truck. Are you going to lease on? What you're going to do for a trailer? So all those things can help make a decision whether this is for you. You know, you might not want to go and relocate to West Texas and buy an older truck. You might want to have something newer and run over the road. Fair play, that's an option, and go lease on to somebody. I would say though that to start with, when you have evaluated your personality and you do think this is for me, and then the next thing is deciding what you want to do. Some of that depends on your physical ability. I'm in my 50s now, and I'm definitely not as fit as I was 20 years ago, and my butt ache of how much I'm prepared to put up with is not as much as it used to be. Almost 10 years ago I went to North Dakota and worked in the oil field up there and climbed up ladders, 20-foot ladders onto the top of tanks and strapped tanks, and sucked the water off the tanks in way sub-zero temperatures. Got frostbite. I've been on top of a frac tank when it's been probably 40-mile-an-hour wind, -30, and absolutely freezing. Felt my body go nice and warm and cozy, and thought, this is wrong, you know, because it was very cold. My desire to go do that now, it's not there. Do I want to be the guy that's going and loading a load of lumber up in northern Idaho in November and having to put a tarp on it and strap that down in the middle of winter and the wind's blowing? No, I don't. And also, at the same time, I like hauling a reefer, because you back into a dock and open the doors back in, the load locks come off it and they take it off, and you sit there and wait, or you go lie down and they call you when it's done. Then you go wait, go for your next load. Downside to reefering is there's a lot of waiting at times. You can go to these distribution centres and be stuck there, and it'll destroy your soul and your will to live. Dry van, not a lot of good dry van freight out of Idaho. Some, not a lot. The flatbedding work, it's a lot better in the Midwest, it appears to be. Do you want to be going across Wyoming hauling reefer freight in the wintertime with the ice and the snow? I've been stuck there lots of times. The oil field in Texas is probably, it's warm and windy and dusty at times, and sometimes it can go quiet. But if you want to buy a cheap truck and don't have to buy a trailer and be in some milder weather, use their fuel card. You know, there's a lot of pros to that. It's an easy entry for me. Everybody says, oh, the oil field's where the pros go. Not really the case. But I would say that in your first year, maybe two, don't commit. Don't run out and buy a trailer because you've had 2 good months hauling sand, and you think, that's it, I'm going to buy a pneumatic trailer because the money's better than that. And knowing people down there who had over 100 pneumatic trailers, trucks, big infrastructure set up, big workshops, and they pulled out and had to sell everything because it dried up. They weren't able to diversify and divert their fleet into other things because they had went so specific. So I would say don't commit to what you're going to haul 100%. And for me, the committing is when you buy a trailer. We've got a step deck trailer right now that we rent because I couldn't get any reefers really. And we wanted to do it because we had a job for it that was supposed to be paid, a really good job. If anybody's watched the channel, they'll know that had a haul, and it didn't materialise. So I can turn that back at any time and not be committed to a trailer that I don't really need at the minute. We use it, we make the most of it, but the reefer stuff is our backbone. And one of the things that I've always tried to think about when you're going to do a business on your own is, and when you're going to buy a piece of equipment, is what's your exit strategy, okay? Those people that had all those pneumatic trailers, their exit strategy was that they had bought used trailers and they paid cash for them. They weren't stacked up with interest on them, so they sold them. They didn't take huge losses, but it wasn't a success for them. But they got out. And I've always tried to go by this rule. When you buy a piece of equipment, when you buy your truck or you buy your trailer, you should always think to yourself, if I have to sell this tomorrow, will I get back what I'm paying for it? Okay? If the answer is yes, great. I've got the 379 Pete that I bought 8 years ago for $28,000 that nobody wanted them at that time because everybody wanted the Freightliners with the economical engines in them, and nobody wanted them because the California compliance thing was coming out and everybody went aerodynamic crazy, and I picked it up for that, and now I could sell it for easily double that when the cat's in it, maybe triple that. So it's gone up in value, which is rare. Having said that, things are going up right now. But always look and see, if I have to sell this tomorrow, will I get back my money? If you sign in a finance agreement and they add the interest on right away, there's no way you're going to sell it. It's like a car payment and a new car that's depreciating all the time. With the interest added, it's difficult to get out. So can you get out of it? And also the same with your trailer. If you bought it, can you swap it for another trailer? Well, if you've rented it, the easy option is, yeah, give it back to the rental place and say, don't want this. Have you got a dry van? Have you got a step deck? Have you got a flatbed? And then that gives you some versatility. So don't commit at the start. The first thing is decide whether you've got the right personality for it. Decide where and how you want to truck. And a lot of that will be dependent on your budget, your ability, and what you want to do, what age you are. Are you too heavy to climb up on and strap a load? You know, are you impatient and don't want to sit there while your truck's getting unloaded at the Walmart distribution centre? All these things are something that you need to figure out. And then once you've decided what you want to do, don't commit fully. Give yourself an exit strategy, okay? That's the second one of our little chats here about this. I hope they're informative for you. If you get any questions or anything like that, stick them in the comments, okay? Thanks for watching.